This private equity rule, this is great. This is the one significant structural change the NFL has made that nobody gives a shit about. And they had the meeting on the same day the roster's cut to 53. And it's not like the fans were on the edge of their seat to see whether or not the NFL would pass the private equity rule. The fans don't care. It doesn't affect those of us who watch football. All it does is it creates an avenue for having a different type of minority owner. Right now, you've got minimum limits that the controlling owner must have. The rest of the team can be held by minority partners. And it has to be all individuals until yesterday. Now you can have these institutional funds, private equity funds that can own up to 10% of any one team, and they can own up to 10% of up to 6 teams. And it really is weird to think you can have one fund that owns 60% of collectively 6 different NFL franchises. Not 60% of one of them, but 10% of 6. You get the math. Math is hard sometimes. But at the end of the day, collectively, they hold 60% of one team, even though they can't control what any one team does. And I'm fine with it for now. I just wonder where it goes from here. Is this a slippery slope? Is this opening a door to a more dramatic change in the future, a greater percentage for private equity, allowing an institutional or corporate organization to own, majority own, controlling ownership of an NFL franchise? And would that be good or would that be bad? I don't know. It just would be very different, because right now they're all mom and pop shops, except for the Green Bay Packers, who have been publicly owned for decades. They did raise money back in the 20s or they would have gone bankrupt. And then once you start selling stock, it's impossible to put all that toothpaste, gather all that toothpaste up and cram it back into the tube. So they can't do anything there. And the private equity thing doesn't matter to the Packers because it's all publicly owned. There's no way to acquire the equity that could be sold to a private equity fund. For the other 31 teams, individual ownership, and that usually means somebody gets rich enough to buy a team. That person owns it until they die. And when they die or become incapacitated, a family member takes over until it's sold. And it just keeps going. The problem is values go up. There aren't enough really rich people around who want to or can afford to buy these teams. And I think the idea with private equity, because it applies not just to buying controlling interest in a team, but also to buying a minority share. Because you still have to find a really rich person who wants to buy a minority stake of a team, knowing that they have no control, no say, no vote in the ownership or management of the team. The private equity funds might pay more. It might drive the values of the teams up. That's the thing to keep in mind. So for now, it's fine. Where it goes from here, that's what possibly is going to be interesting and eventually could spark some major changes to how teams are managed at the ownership level. But even then, how does it affect us as fans? And I would submit to you, it would be better to have a corporation owning and operating an NFL team than an individual who doesn't know what the hell he or she is doing. And it's dysfunctional. And there's no one there with any real training or experience or business savvy. And they're making one bad decision after another. And it all flows from the top down. It's better to have a corporate structure. You got a CEO, you got a board of directors, you have people who presumably have skills to know how to run a business. So some teams might become less dysfunctional if that would ever happen. Some teams, maybe the owner knows exactly what he or she is doing and they know how to make the right decision at the right time. And it would get worse if it's a more homogenized and sterilized environment. But regardless, from a fan's perspective, it doesn't change anything because there's nothing we can do as fans to change team ownership. You're stuck with ownership until they die or sell the team. And as Jed York said several years ago, you can't fire the owner.
Okay, you have a chance to win $1 million in the NBC sweepstakes on Yahoo Fantasy. Just download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/fantasymillion for additional details. What are you waiting for?
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.